Good morning. Thank you all for attending this program this morning. I am talking to you from outside of Chicago. And as I was explaining to Vicki, I am having my floors and kitchen redone in the rest of the house. The timing was not supposed to be at the same time as this, but it's never dull to have that going on. So I said to her, this was the normal and fun part of my day, and I'm excited about it. So I have some pictures there of what senior programs used to look like and what they might look like now for you. That's what it looked like on the left if we were lucky, right? If we had enough people come on a particular evening and they were all interested in the topic. So how are we going to engage seniors now through Zoom programs when maybe we're all getting tired of Zoom also? And I realize you're attending, my thing, and I appreciate that. How are we going to reach them? Let me give you a little example of what's my experience working with seniors is. I was a teen and adult readers advisory librarian for 20 years before I started teaching library science at the local university. But then I had a blog for 13 years on my 2000 volume vintage cookbook collection. Some of that has been pared down for the remodeling, by the way. But then, so I would go around and I was invited to speak at libraries, and I do 30 or 40 of these a year where I talk about vintage foods that you're going to be able to replicate my program quite easily. And so that is how I really understood the senior programming, and I got to know the librarians who worked with seniors, and I started realizing that some particular things work better than others. Then, of course, COVID hit and nothing works the same way, right? All right, a couple of things about today. I love it that you're all using the chat. Feel free to chime in if there's a program you've done that works really well on a theme I'm talking about, or if something I'm talking about didn't work well for you. That stuff is more useful than ever. I'm always suspect when I go to a librarian conference and they talk about how everything went really well. And no, we all know that's not reality. It wasn't reality live. It's not reality now. I was teaching a workshop on teen services once at PLA, and somebody goes, do you ever have a program that just goes terribly wrong? And I'm like, do you mean this week? Because I was trying to think of a teen program that had gone right when she asked me that question. But a lot of times, things that I thought were terrible, when I'd come home with paint or cake in my hair, the teens loved it and wanted it over and over. And so reaching a targeted market like teens is not that different from reaching seniors in some ways. So let's go ahead and get started with our ideas. Remember, go ahead and type in the chat. I told Vicki I would clean up the chat and sort it by theme and then send it all back to you. So you can see what everybody else wrote in with their ideas. If any of you are doing a program with seniors in the next couple of weeks, or if you did one recently that worked pretty well, go ahead and write it in the chat. I'm going to try to keep an eye on it. I might miss your questions. So if you have a question I didn't get to, remind me at the end too. Okay, this is my grandma Alessio. I kept my name when I got married. And that is a blanket she crocheted behind me. And I just she taught me so many things and is one of the inspirations behind my food history talks, which I'll get to a little bit more in a future slide. So topics for today's seniors we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about programs to offer online or ones that can turn into recurring events. Those were always my favorite ones because they were the easiest to plan. We might not have to fight for the meeting rooms the way we used to, although, you maybe do. But then you want those repeating ones are great, but they have their own issues too. So I have some ideas for programs that you might be able to turn into successful recurring ones, and then kit ideas, because I know a lot of you are doing kits, and I looked online and a lot of you have many impressive things. Great, people are chiming in on the chat already about game days. And the need for socialization, which I'm going to talk about with seniors. I'm glad you brought that up already. Here is a photo from Depression era Chicago outside a soup kitchen. You see all these people in line, and of course the motto from that era was the eat it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. And the problem with this line, because this was a photo I took off the Social Security website, is that it was the soup kitchen was hosted by Al Capone. So no free lunch there, right? You might be recruited into an organization. A lot of people think of gangsters of Chicago, so I always like to put this up. But that slogan is one that a lot of seniors live by, and it makes a lot of sense. My in-laws certainly were like this. My mother was like this. they were forced to make it do, right? During war times, or their parents were, and so they grew up in homes where this was the motto. Maybe not going to lunch at Al Capone's, but the rest of it. All right, so the generations, we know the greatest generation, not too many of them are around anymore, sadly. Silver generation, a lot of independence. They fought in wars, or they had family members who did. They were affected by that. The big wars, the Korean War too. And they were very independent, right? And they were thrifty because they came out of those eras where there wasn't an abundance around. And then the baby boomers, and we see more of them. They maybe were living in like the background more. Maybe they had suburbia after the soldiers came home. They were part of that boom in the 50s. They may have fought in Vietnam. And these are the folks that we think of when we think of seniors. Although my brother's a baby boomer, something I like to bring up often. Okay, the biggest challenge in programming for seniors, or really for anyone, this is what it used to be like, right? We'd either have A at the top or we'd have B at the bottom. I used to say that nothing inspired a Chicago team to enter the championships like me spending a whole lot of money on an upcoming program, right? Nothing would cause a smaller audience than to put a huge amount of time and effort. And then there's ones that you've thrown together at the last minute, and then a huge amount of people are coming and you don't know why. Right? This is the joy of library service, is that a new adventure every day for us, right? All right, so some of the challenges in programming for seniors, and feel free to write in with some of the challenges you're having too. Budget, obviously, and that challenge is certainly not going away after COVID. When to have the events, spotty attendance. Maybe you had a club that was going great for years, and then you have a couple people maybe who pass or move away, and suddenly the club has fizzled out. And there's no problem with taking a break from clubs and restarting, or taking surveys. We do it at a different time, different format. Staff time, boy, that's certainly changed, hasn't it? We've got a lot less of it, and we didn't have abundance of it before. Subjects that appeal, and that's why you guys are here. Online access is still hard for some people, and so we have to figure out how to reach those people, or all of the above. Oh, I should mention, you're also getting the copy from all my themed slides. I did an outline of all the copy that's on all of those, including websites that come up. So hopefully you can just sit back, maybe make a note or two on something you might want to try, because you're going to have all those notes. All right, programs that are senior friendly. There is a picture of me in my vintage dress doing the Southern Vintage Treats at a local library when they were in person. And I actually served treats at them. And so things that make programs senior friendly, and I think this applies to online also, is no fines. I know a lot of the bigger library systems are doing this now. There used to be something at the library where I worked where seniors would have a special card where they wouldn't have to pay fines, and maybe they could have more checkouts of certain types of media. Different things you can do. Punch cards, if you can't eliminate fines entirely. Maybe a punch card where they get an extra DVD or something, if people are still checking those out, and I think some seniors probably are. Maybe they can make extensions on checking out the book club bag or something like that. Discounts for trips or events. Yeah, that one is a little dated. That's kind of COVID, but we used to offer bus trips at the library for money, but there would still be joint programs we would do with park districts. Now, some of this might be local to Illinois, so, forgive me for that translation, but technology drop-ins for seniors. You certainly could do that online also, where they log on and ask questions about certain things. And I know they have to be tech savvy enough to do that, but I'm talking about how to plug in devices, or how about how to download things from the library website. Appointments for extra help on certain things. Repeating popular events, or like they do at this library system where they're recording it. A non-binding registration, microphones, and visibility definitely makes a big difference. Short handouts, time for sharing at the end. We talked about socialization. When I used to do the cookbook shows live, I had people coming 45 minutes and I'd still be setting up all the plates, and I didn't mind. And they always wanted to talk about their foods and their recipes at the end. They still do. I'm doing my Zoom holiday cooking shows now. And I did one Monday night, and people just had so many ideas and so many cookies that I hadn't shared, or so many tips on how to make kolaches the right way. I mean, I enjoyed that they got a kick out of. They were that passionate about my subject. People can log on early and chat with me, and then have frequent reminders about upcoming events. Online programming tips for seniors. I have a training video on how to register and have access. Well, a lot of them are getting savvier now. Working with local senior centers, it sounds like a lot of you are doing that already. Reminders on the program with steps on how to access. Get your teen advisor board or get some savvy teen child of a staff member to make videos on how to access some of these things, like okay, you log on here and you point there. And I recorded, and recording it for later viewing, which I mentioned on the previous slide. Here's a live senior area at a little library in Pennsylvania. It is a teen area after school. It is a senior area, second chapter cafe during the day. And see, these are some of the things they have. Now we probably won't see a coffee bar, but they had puzzles and gadgets people could check out. And it provided all these things. These are the things you guys are already doing for seniors: social opportunities, education, entertainment, assistance and training, resources, no or low cost services. Where else can they get that? And then independence. I know we have some academic folks here today too, so I want to make sure I include that in the discussions, as that is my job now too. So I definitely want to include the library. But this particular example was a public library. And friends group are probably more applicable to public. That is a picture of a senior friends group. Friends group, I know it can be hit or miss. Can you have one that's targeted to seniors? And maybe some of these libraries, I've seen some of the city libraries have foundations with younger people, and different events are hosted and fundraising things. I'm not sure if that is allowed where you are, but there's been a lot of the mini golf in the library up here where people can pay to attend. And that was a spaced out event and something that was popular here. As always, friends groups sometimes may have to end and restart periodically. There's been a few friends group up here, and these were not limited to seniors, that the libraries had to cancel because they were contentious. And we've had that issues with library boards too. And I know that happens with any group, but are there ways you can change it or maybe have meetings less often if there's a problem like that? But friends groups are invaluable. There was no way I could run teen services without a teen advisory board. I'd get their opinions any way I could. In those days, we served pizza. I know a lot of libraries are doing it online now. Seniors are an easy well of ideas for their own programming, just like teens are for theirs. These are a couple libraries that have senior citizens friendship clubs, senior library council. These don't have to meet that often. It doesn't have to be one more thing you run, or it could be a recurring senior program. You could call it the Senior Library Council, but it has themed meetings once a month. You log in online, and today we're having a speaker about how to do your genealogy back to this, different countries. How do you access African records genealogy or Italian records genealogy? You could have a theme speaker every month, do the business part for 20 minutes, have the speaker for 25 minutes, and get ideas from them. Say, okay, we were thinking about having this, you guys suggested this, and here is where we are at the library. This is something recent that the Vernon Area Public Library in Illinois. I kept wanting to pull examples I found online from Florida libraries, but I thought, all right, well, you guys know those already. So I pulled some from up here. This is actually from the ALA site on advocacy for seniors. And you remember, you're going to get an outline with all that in there. And I put a quote from the types of things they have in their caregiver kits. Definitely hard to entertain seniors when you can't go out, right? Just like any other age group. So, but these maybe trigger memories, keep them busy. You got puzzles in there. And I was curious about how they cleaned off some of those items, but maybe they didn't replace like the seed packets or the feathers or other interests that fit the theme. I was really interested in this idea. I wanted to know more about what I could put in kits or what that cost or how to store them. But then I saw the Fountaindale Public Library has virtual kits. And I thought, oh, how's that going to work? But it does. They had multiple themed ones, and each one has something to read, to amuse, to create, and to learn. And they're all linked right there. This is a good way to hook people into trying some of those online services. My online students, I'm teaching collection management this semester and intro to reference. And I had them all find a database that nobody seemed to know about at their public library, and we all had to discuss the features of it and how easy it was to use. I think that was my collection class. Like Creative Bug. So many libraries in my area have access to online videos. It's not all on YouTube. I mean, a lot is, but maybe somebody wants some targeted, trained craft one that's easier to find, that you don't have to search through several to get what you want. Or how about online classes, that if you have the LinkedIn Learning, or you have, in this case, the Universal class, do all your patrons know about that? Are they using it? We know how expensive those things are. This is another way. The virtual kit was a good idea, and it continuously runs, that people can log in and access those materials. Options for growing clubs. Remember I said I like clubs because they're easy to plan. We used to have a teen writing club. We'd have a nonfiction book club for seniors. We'd have, if we discovered that a lot of seniors were attending like a book club at a particular time of day, and there were younger people that wanted to come, maybe we would do one at a coffee shop on the weekend to try different things. Thing about clubs is that your patrons can be a lot more enthusiastic than you are at times. Be realistic. You don't want to burn yourself out. We want to keep their interest going, but you still have to do everything else you're doing. That's the problem about having a really successful program that spins off other ones, is you're still running them all, right? And having to come up with other things and doing all the things that you did before. So you want to be realistic about it. And the academic folks, like, we wouldn't plan things for August or September. You want to have a realistic timeline about what you're doing. Duplicate the club during day and evening, like I talked about, to reach different people. Consider a multi-generational club. I'm sure you all have families coming in with a lot of grandparents. Streamline the registration so that only one person has to sign up. Make it easy to participate. And then you want to rotate leaders of some of these clubs. And, I think we've all had leaders of volunteer groups, or a staff member who is the only one who has had to manage some really popular program for a long time. Make sure you rotate, bring a few people in on that duty to make it fair. Now, I did a live program once called Library Academy, and it was all seniors that came. I had attended the local police academy in my area. It was like a 4-week thing where I'd go one night a week and learn about different departments. And they let us like explore and meet the canine and, see their technology and even their weapons. And I thought, we can do a library version of this, without the weapons, right? But so we did 4 weeks. We had one night, and we highlighted different branches. We took them around to the branches. They got fun handouts like coupons for extra checkouts or a free coffee at the cafe. This would be very easy to do online. Have each department make like a 2-minute recording about some feature that people don't know about. This is your chance to tell patrons things you wish they knew, right? That you think, okay, how many times have I answered this one particular question? How do they not know we have this service? How do they not know we have genealogy databases they can access from home? More people are savvier about the accessing from home now, but not everybody. And they certainly don't know everything we have. How many clicks on your website is it from your home page to when they can download stuff? I guarantee you not everybody knows how to do that. So make some short videos, and they sign up for, especially online, they wouldn't have to go to all 4 weeks. They could, it's like a meet the library, and you kind of tour through each department. I'm sure there are grandparents who don't realize what's available in the youth section. There might be parents who don't know what kind of resources are available. I think most of the folks in my library academy did not realize we had international languages, and there were several that they spoke themselves. Things that you think are obvious that the library has, they didn't realize we had newspapers in different languages, though we may not have that at the moment, but there's all kinds of things they don't know we have. This is your chance to tell them in a nice way, right? This isn't please don't put that stuff in the Dropbox, no matter how many times we've told you. No, we want to couch that, say, here is the inner workings of our return bin. It's easiest when people return such and such, and here's the dump we have when we've been off for a few days, right? Spin your library services. These people will become volunteers. They're going to become lifelong dedicated users of the library. Okay. Key programs and themes. Some of these you guys are probably already doing. I pulled out some of the Illinois departments I knew about that work seniors. I'm sure you have similar ones. So many seniors I've encountered at my shows don't realize that we have clubs or organizations that do these things in Illinois. It doesn't matter how many times we have it on the website. Make a 2-minute video featuring them, and have a senior section on your website that they can bookmark and get to, or on your social media. There's an organization in Illinois called Grandparents Raising Grandchildren. So many needed that in my area and didn't realize there was an organization. They were trying to figure out all the stuff on their own, how to get school supplies, how to get coats, how to get food. Again, need has forced more people to learn about these things, but we certainly can push that information also. A basic overview of types of retirement accounts, that applies to all ages. That would go down to younger adults also. And then areas assistance, and people are knowing more about this now, but do they all know like where they can get the booster and that kind of thing? So we want to continuously feature some of these things that are going to be on their minds. And those are never going to be our sexiest programs, right? But in some cases, they might be the most important. Okay, other things we can feature, areas that have discounts for seniors. Feature chamber businesses in your area that have senior promotions. Those folks can make their own videos, make them do that work for you, and then put it on your site or your social media. So this week we're featuring places with senior promotions. Can you have some sort of senior business fair? Do you have some family-owned businesses that are run by seniors? Or places that have special senior shopping hours. That seems to change weekly around here. So that is something that we used to put on Twitter, and especially the shopping hours towards the holidays. Are there still going to be particular senior places? I mean, you might hear some noise now. I do hear the remodeling starting up, but it is, I imagine all those of you who work with students or with the public, noise is not new to any of us. So this is why I have my microphone. All right. Travel and transportation for less. Boy, that's key, especially when public transportation changes what they might need. Here's some more programs. The thing with this is you're not going to get huge numbers logging on, but the people who log on are going to be so very grateful. Our area hospitals able to give some kind of talk or presentation, or maybe they want to come in person to do some kind of testings or discussions. Again, none of these are the programs that are going to be the most fun to plan or execute, but so important. And can you have links to stretching or things to ease eye strain? Or do you know when when COVID hits and my local library had curbside, I was one of their most frequent users because my mother couldn't get large type any other way. And she was not keen on using the iPad. She could do Audible with Alexis, but she really wanted some large type. And who else has it? And those are really expensive. I mean, you never know the things that a few teens are going to, or the seniors, I'm mixing up my roles, are going to be incredibly grateful for. Okay, here's a club connection. Remember, I talked about grandparents taking care of grandchildren. I'm never good at coming up with names for clubs. Maybe some of you do something like this. I thought you could make some family entertainment kits. Some of you talked about game night. A local library in my area now has Binge It. I'm pretty sure they're trying to promote their DVD checkout, but I thought it was still a good idea. Put that whole Outlander series in a case. That's not family entertainment. That would be more for the grandparents later to view that, or the parents. But you get the idea. Put a whole series in there that a family might like. A whole themed group of movies they might like, with a book or a bookmark or a puzzle or something to go with it, or a craft idea. Kits on healthy snacks, with a few basic things in there, that, of course, I'm blanking out on this, and I give all the food talks. I think we all get the idea of what would go in a kit that would promote healthy snacking. So things for movie nights, craft kits for family entertainment. And I'm going to talk over some specific ones with cheap supplies in a few minutes. Seed kits to plant at home, and then kits on themes or special events like for Kwanzaa or Diwali or different events like that. Might be a fun kit to learn about it. Have programs to support those folks. Materials on State was something in Chicago that they have. It's an organization that helps grandparents, and there's all kinds of them, but I'm always amazed at how many grandparents come to the college funding too. You'd be surprised at who is getting benefits from these programs. Okay, an easy craft kit for families, apron decorating. I got asked to do this and people wanted vintage themes, and I thought, boy, I do not have the patience. But it turned out okay. I found inexpensive chef's aprons. They had little things wrong with them, but nobody could really tell, in lots on eBay. And then I put out Sharpies, and people could draw whatever they want. I had samples of different fun designs. Some people put dots all over their apron and it was cute. They could write recipes. They could write the foods they like to eat. It's a pretty easy decorating kit. I used to try iron-on transfers and all that. That is way too hard. I know we have some of the things to do this in the maker space, but sometimes we just want an easy, cheap kit. Now the Sharpies are not super cheap and you would have to get those back with the kits. But there's all kinds of ideas for easy ways to decorate aprons. And so they might not look the most perfect or whatever, but they're fun. And then maybe you put in some kind of mix for people to make cookies when they're done or something. All right, health and fitness. What kind of online classes we have? Again, what other organizations in your area can do some work for you? Samples of classes offered at different facilities. I like to always show samples of self-defense for seniors. As my black belt, this is my thing. I remember my mother always said that there was nothing she could do. She absolutely could do some things with self-defense. There's elbows, there's canes. I mean, none of these things are perfect, but you can do sometimes enough damage to be able to get away. And you have to be able to feel a little bit empowered. So talking to seniors about what they can do. Wellness and healthy living. These are different things you could feature under health or fitness. The no sweat, sugar free. What are some examples of easy snacks or recipes for that? And then, of course, the holiday stress. Now, we don't want to call a program holiday stress because no one's going to come. We already have it. How about Zen during the holidays or peace during something like that? Have someone giving tips on things you can do for self-care is a phrase I always like to see. Health and fitness from home. And now I'm going to take a poll on how many of us have exercised today. I'm just kidding. I have not exercised in a long time. I should do some of these, which is what I realize when I see this here. So what are some simple examples of exercises, links to things that you could put available for seniors to access? Like I saw one library had 15-minute chair stretches every day and a staff member was doing them. Somebody knew how to do that. You don't have to do that yourself. There's other sources, as we know. Have some kind of senior challenge for a number of steps for particular, or you show how many, have people write in with the number of steps they've done, and then you can show how many miles seniors walked, maybe in a particular week, if you want to feature something. Can we all hear the drill? All right, how about a Zen kit? A Zen kit and this, it's hard to separate things out for seniors, but it would have senior appeal. Have some coloring supplies, and that could be coloring a bookmark, with the tiny little pencils that you can throw out, or it can be the markers you can wipe down. Meditation music links. Remember that virtual kit the Fountaindale Library had? They had links to their streaming music and videos. People always forget we have that stuff. I have a packet of green tea, have a recipe for a smoothie, have some ideas like a card that would list some particular stretches. And then if you look online, there are tons of ideas for making your own mini Zen garden that are quite easy. You could put a baggie with sand in there. I know you guys have sand down there. It's not as easy up here to get that, but I know you have. Another theme is easy but not fast food. So many seniors eat badly because they don't want to cook for more than one. And are there ways that we can give them some tips on what they could make? So I did a program called Microwave Magic for teens who are going to college, real easy, quick meal things. And then we realized that seniors wanted to sign up for it also. So I made a packet of recipes. I mean, that was easy. You certainly can do demonstrations with the microwave online. You might not need to hire a chef for this one. I'm a terrible cook. And you think, all right, well, she gives talk on vintage. I'm adventurous. I have a lot of fun trying different recipes. I'm not good at it. I don't have a lot of patience. I can still do demonstration of microwave meals and tips and say, oh, okay, you don't want to do this. We've all seen the perfect elaborate meal demos on the news or on TV. This doesn't have to be that. This is a fun, familiar librarian they're used to seeing with some ideas. How about some 4-ingredient recipes? Maybe those kind of resources get tweeted out, or whatever way seniors are accessing your social media. $5 dinners. Places in the area that have discounts like that. Ethnic foods and history. Maybe somebody get a staff member to talk about something a family member used to make for a holiday and have the recipe there, and ask people to chime in if they had something similar. And then how about different restaurants could be featured on your website. All right, safety and scams. There I am doing a teen self. That was when I still had my brown belt. Teen self defense. Obviously, this is harder now. We can't get up close with the people. But when we did that workshop, we did it in person with 10 teens right before they went back to college. And then we had it in a different section, which we called senior self defense, and made it clear that the things they would be doing would be more um, accessible. And we found a couple seniors who had it on their bucket list to get a black belt, which I thought was awesome. And one of them did. He went through and did it. But simple self-defense moves. If you can do a few in-person classes with the understanding that people are going to be up close on some of this for self-defense, or show some demonstrations. It's not the same, but it does give people some ideas of what they can do in a bad situation. Your local police give some short talks about upcoming or scams that are happening. Maybe they have samples of some of the emails to avoid clicking on, and some tips for safety. All right. How about mysteries as a theme? Highlight different puzzle apps at the library. There's so many good ones now, and some are free. Those are a lot of fun, and people can do those fairly easily on iPads. I'm going to have a mystery kit in a minute too. So if you're thinking along those lines, have a binge kit with classic crime TV or movies, or maybe a book kit that has local mystery authors or one set in your area. You guys have so many good series set in Florida. And I know I have some up here too, but I particularly like the ones that are a mental escape down to your temperature than the ones about the snow up here. One of my favorites is a true false program. I used to do a lot of these. Often, maybe this is Illinois, the laws do not keep up with the times. If it's not a law that's like bad, they might not update it. And you think, well, what is she talking about? Okay, there were laws in Schaumburg Township, which was 150,000 people, very crowded area with like colleges, and there's a medieval castle and all kinds of stuff. And I know you guys have plenty in your areas too, but there were laws about parking your horse that were still on the books. So you can put like true or false. Another way to do true or false is library rules, true or false. And you think, okay, so people do these true or false. You don't have to grade them. Just the fact they did them, they enter a drawing for some little prize. It certainly can go along with a true or false. You can park your horse at such and such area. Now, some of you might have areas with horses, but that's pretty rare up here. You know, further south in Illinois, maybe, but all kinds of funny old rules, like you can't wear a hat in certain areas, laws that nobody's paying attention to anymore. And you'd be surprised. You definitely can go down the research rabbit hole with that one, and it might be fun. How about some virtual mysteries? And there are people who have done this already in kits, and I have the website there, and you'll get it in your handout. Puzzle and Scrabble crafts. I'm going to show you an example in a minute. And then have a book talk of yourself. I know very few of us like to be on a video, including myself, and here I am. But take a look at book talk if you haven't, and you think, all right, well, no seniors are going to go on TikTok. Maybe not, some will, but look at how they do things, how quickly they talk about a book on book talk, and how they promote it. And you could do something similar. I noticed librarians, a lot of them in my local areas, did the story times during COVID, which was great, bilingual too, multilingual. But also people are doing book talks on, if you read this, you'll like that one, where the librarian just has 1 minute to do it. Get everyone on your staff to record one. Is there recording equipment at your library that everybody's afraid to use? There was always some piece of equipment that only one guy would know how to use, right? And that patrons wanted to book it. We had to do it when that guy was available. Maybe things are different near you, but make everybody record a short video using that equipment or something new. It teaches them, plus you'll have book talk videos. All right, here are 2 ideas for puzzle kits. A normal public library had create your own design on a 15-piece round puzzle. I think Oriental Trading was a place that had puzzle kits. I used to do this a lot with the teens. It always amazed me how often they wanted to do this. There is technology where you can make puzzles with some of the makerspace equipment now too, or you can take pictures and turn them into puzzles. But the idea is that people craft their own puzzle at home. They go home with a blank puzzle, they draw on it, color, whatever, and then they get to keep it. So that is a kit. And then you can make an easy kit for puzzle piece earrings. And you know why these are good? is for when those library puzzles are returned without all their pieces. That's when we turn them into crafts. And there was all kinds like necklaces and different options people could use. About having a senior housing fair. Uh, Usually people have to decide things in a hurry when there's a senior crisis. And I know this with both my parents. And it sure would have been nice to have an organization. I mean, you can type in senior center in your area, but there's no like site or video that features people speaking from the different ones in the area. Obviously, this has all been complicated now by COVID. I did not realize how many organizations were available in my area to help folks age in place. Do your seniors know this? Can you reach out to the senior centers and ask them, to maybe talk about their facilities or talk about local hospice places? Now, we don't want to feature one business over another, but you certainly could make a list of ones in the area and invite them to add their own links or something. There are ways to do it. Or is there an organization that vets senior hospice centers? And there are a couple in Illinois. Have a link to that place. Are you looking for a place for your mom to go? Try this site. Have representatives from day programs, have housing representatives, and veteran benefit speakers. I can't say enough about that one. When my dad got ill, my brother and I happened to attend a veteran benefits, a man talking about veteran benefits from a veterans association who did this for free, and realized that my dad and then my mom were eligible for a whole kind of benefits that I had no idea because of his service in the Korean War. I mean, you think you know, but there are so many ins and outs of those things, and they change, and things are tied into veteran hospitals. People are not aware. Get a free speaker. You will have maybe only a handful of extremely grateful people in your audience. And if it's something that could be recorded, even better. All right, topics on downsizing and selling houses. People want to know how to have estate sales or how to donate or where to donate in the time of COVID. You could have a resource list on this, and have somebody, a local realtor, talk about tips of making your house ready to go. I mean, whose house is going to look like the Home and Garden channel? Mine, after the remodeling, even isn't still going to look like that. What are the main things people have to know to get value? Or if it's their second home in Florida, which is like my dream, may I say, then they, might have tips on how to sell it, or how to sell things long distance. You have a realtor come talk about those things. All right, how to find the value of items. These are some of the items in my vintage collection. I love the cookie presses, those of you who make holiday cookies. I'm not going to talk about the salmon mousse mold. We all have an eclectic items. And so people need to know how to easily sell online. Well, how do I pack it? What equipment do I need to mail? And people who are clearing their house or getting ready to downsize might be especially interested in this. And are there resources of value of popular items? A lot of libraries in the area have had like the Antiques Roadshow where they have experts come and view items. Certainly you could have people set up appointments to do that for a couple hours on a particular day. Items to trigger memories. Can you have a scavenger hunt? Now, I used to do a lot of speaking for romance writers organizations, and we were doing a big librarian training on romance books. And so we decided to have a scavenger hunt, and my librarian friend and I are like, great, let's find hard ones. They have to come up with a book with a man in a kilt. They have to find a medieval book. They have to find somebody with a Latino gentleman on the cover. They have to find somebody with without a bare chest on the cover, things like this. We came up with like 30, and some of them were hard. They had to be set in different countries or whatever. They were done in about 12 minutes. They all had everything. The scariest one was when we said, okay, find a cover in your house or on your iPad of a romance with somebody in a kilt. A woman pulled a kilt from the underneath her chair. It's like, oh, I think I have that right here. And she had a kilt. We were like, okay. So you can do a senior scavenger hunt that might be fun. If you have like a senior organization or some kind of club and you need to have some kind of holiday celebration. Yes, someone actually had a kilt. I thought, oh my gosh, we should ask for a toga. I mean, there could have been, who knows what possibilities. We were stunned. We were then forced to make up things on by the seat of our pants. Have people come up with their oldest cookbook, and then they have to go show it. And you can still do this on Zoom, oldest recipe, and see and everybody shares what that recipe is and who's the oldest. And these are some of the oldest treasures I have in my collection. an old apron, a treasure. You don't have to have prizes. It can just be for fun. You don't ask for kilts though. Wow. But ribbon or trophy they might have. Does anybody still have a prom picture or even a prom, something from their garments? And then people will have fun looking and talking about it. And this is good for staff meetings too. You can do it like who's reading what. Does somebody have a print book that's set before 1950 in their house? Things like that. So you can come up with different elements. Teams, you'd have to do all virtual things. Can you find such and such on your phone? And then it would be hard to view on Zoom. So this is definitely more a senior or adult one. All right, things themed on World War I or World War II. This is a photo of my Grandpa Curtin's unit, and it's only part of it. It's a third of this like long and narrow horizontal picture. And in the front, you can see he wrote me. You can just barely see it. And then up at the top, it says Bill Conrick, which was his neighbor from their unit. And they both came home happily. Themes that go with World War I kind of activities. Have a program on meatless meals. You know, we offer this as vegetarian meals, right? So let's call it meatless meals. And suddenly it's a World War I program with some modifications. There were some things they couldn't have, but, you know, rework those programs you've done already. Do you have a local chef who's good at speaking of some of those things? The thing about World War I, it was all famous ads or marketing campaigns or commercials. You can have links. Some are available online that people have preserved, but the place to go is the National World War I Museum and Memorial. That website is amazing, and they have really ramped it up with ideas for people who are teaching from home. You have a genealogy program on tracing your military records. I bet most of you are doing that kind of thing already. People may not realize that they can access some of that stuff from home. Topics that work for both World War I and World War II, things on vegetable gardening, canning, and meatless meals, or things on knit your bits. And that actually can go with a kit where they can knit something. Knit your bit is still active. People knitting for soldiers. Are they aware of some of the charity crafting they can be doing and how they can do it from home? How about a gardening kit? You can have a small pot to paint in there. You'd have to wrap it in something. And I mean like tiny ones. Or a fun recycled container. Get people to realize they can do gardening in any kind of recycled containers. Paints and brushes, you would need to have some kind of acrylic paints to go with that. Seeds, maybe a baggie of dirt. Info on places where they can donate food if they want to get into gardening in a big way or get into like the Victory Garden size where they are actually making the food for a purpose. Or you can have a kit to do terrariums. And terrariums don't have to be elaborate. Once again, you all have plenty of sand. And things like that. But some terrariums are made, they're not real plants. You can have like stones. We do ones with action figures in the areas, just some fun little thing. It's kind of like the Zen garden. And that might be a fun family kit or one that seniors would like. World War II battle on the home front. I've been asked by a couple academic libraries in the area to give talks about Rosie, spies, and farm corps, the role of women during World War II. And the theme of food during World War II is pictured right here. And I don't even want to say it. Probably not something a lot of us like to eat, although it does have many, many rabid fans, as I've discovered. Up here, there's a museum dedicated to that food item, which I'm not going to name, which I've been to. And my older son says he needs therapy from that experience. But you know what? It was fascinating. And they had a movie on Hormel offered like a girls' entertainment corps during World War II to promote his meatless canned product. And it was amazing. We saw videos, we saw all kinds of stuff on this. So talking about World War II foods, so much of the world was starving and we were helping feed them. So many interesting stories came out of that, or the kinds of things they made. There's amazing artwork that came out of that period. And once again, the World War II Museum has amazing streaming events or live things. Now, the memorabilia sharing victory tea. Okay, so your senior can pick up a packet with some tea and maybe a book that's set during that time, or a nonfiction book, maybe a book with recipes from that time. And then they log on Zoom, and if they have memorabilia, they can show it. This is like a nicer version of the scavenger hunt. Do they have memorabilia from a particular area? Did anyone bring something home? Does anyone have a medal? Does anyone have a clothing item from that era? Did anyone, things like that? Anyone have a picture of something, themselves, or a garden, or someone from home. People might have things in their memorabilia that they can show. Veterans Day, not just in November, we can celebrate that year round. And I suspect a lot of you are doing this already. You want to feature local veterans who want to be featured. Not all of them like to speak about those experiences, of course. And I put the veterans benefits one here. And again, that huge help for my dad, things we did not realize. Can you have somewhere on your website records of what areas, what units from your area were in which conflict during the Civil War? I know there were a lot of Florida units. And where were they? The ones from your town. Okay, we had a unit during the Civil War from our town, and they fought in these battles. When those anniversaries come up too, that's a fun thing to do. Or make some kits of crafts that people can make for local veterans. Card kits that could be collected. You want to put suggestions of what they can write on there, because not everyone knows about it. There are still campaigns to send letters to soldiers all over, stationed all over the world. Do a little bit of research on that, but local veterans hospitals like cards, and just check with them what their COVID rules are, but they still need cards. Maybe we don't want to be celebrating Confederates. I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking like the units from up here. That is an excellent point. Yeah, there has to be another way to talk about units from your area and what conflicts they were. Boy, that is the thought. There is a disconnect, right? Where I'm thinking Illinois. Okay, let's talk about 1950s. Programs that celebrate the 1950s or just nostalgia. And this might not just be seniors that want to attend. I give talks on 1950s food. There was like a push to market to teenagers. Maybe some of the folks that coming to your programs were teens in the 50s, might enjoy this. You can alter that apron decorating kit to have poodle skirts or poodle appliques. They're fairly easy to find. And there is something you might want to use some of your makerspace equipment if you have it, and then something they could iron on. History of Billboard hits, history of music, history of radio shows is a big popular one up here. If you have anyone who speaks, and there you might tap your local universities, anyone who can speak about that particular time. People are fascinated with it, especially if they're able to air some clips or samples from that time. Soda fountain recipes, and there are different ways to do this with different health and movie fests with famous people from that time, or a speaker from the Korean War. 1960s. We know some of the musicians that were popular during that time. Oh, your niece recently attended music bingo. I'm in a widows group that goes to a music bingo every week. That is really hot. What a great idea. Thank you. That would be a great one to do. You could pick your music time. A music bingo usually does you play the song and people have to identify it on their card. That is a great Zoom activity. What a good idea. Different things that go with the 60s. There could be a kit to tie-dye socks. There's some of the easy tie-dyeing that people can do now with the color cords. You don't have to just do it outside in a big messy event, or maybe that's just me reminiscing about teen programs and different topics that come up with the 60s. I have some of my cookbooks from here from the 60s, the after 10 p.m. Can you imagine? Boy, no cooking is going on at my house after 10 p.m. and I definitely don't want guests, but it was big with the cocktail parties in the 60s. All right, programs from the 70s, and I am amazed at how many libraries ask me to do these, but often it has to do with library anniversaries. So things that tie into the 1970s, the oven mitt loom is down there on the bottom. Programs, I mentioned the history of Tupperware when I talk about the 70s, different things that were popular. And then there's a library that had a Pinterest board based on the 70s because they had an anniversary. Okay. Retro craft kits that seniors might enjoy. I have taught many workshops on retro crafts. I have quite a few craft books, and it would amaze me. They don't have to be good at it, and I was certainly not good at it. I would demonstrate how to make a pom-pom out of cardboard. And I once had a woman, and I had stations for 4 or 5 different crafts, and they could come and go as they pleased. And it was nice because they could be spaced out. But I had a woman who wanted to just make pom-poms the entire time. And she was just remembering making them like for her roller skates or her different things. She just wanted to sit there and do that and just remember the whole time. So the pom-poms are pretty easy and inexpensive kit to make. You can do small balls of yarn. Macrame, you can do it with floss. I tend to do it with yarn because floss gets tangled. If you're going to do a kit or a class on it, it's fairly simple to do that. And they just want to practice a few knots. Nobody wants to make a plant hanger anymore, right? Or a big owl to hang on their wall. They just want to remember doing the craft and talk about the things they made when they were younger. So they could get the kit, and you could even do a demonstration on Zoom and people could follow along. Quilling is another one. I've got the picture of it there. I put the items that you can make a quilling kit. There's particular quilling paper and quilling needles, but if they just want to try the craft, you can do basic things with a thin double pointed knitting needle, and you can cut paper into strips. Get your teen volunteers to put some of these together for you if you have them, or if they have to do volunteer hours. Yeah, that oven mitt loom never goes away, and you can get cheap loops for it, and people still want to make that because they remember doing it. And then the flower loom is an earlier version of that. All right, how about having a club based on the decades? Every theme you're talking or celebrating a different decade. It would be a monthly thing. It's like a variation on the book group, only this time maybe you would show some clips of movies if you're able to, or if they're able to attend some. You could have samples of dance steps that were popular during the 50s. And I don't mean you, unless you're good at that, and then I admire you, but steps, there's things online that demonstrate some of those. And again, asking people to show any memorabilia or photos they might have from the 50s, and definitely a trivia contest. I love the music bingo idea. Seniors are particularly interested in leaving a legacy. This could be programs on genealogy, the food history. Like I said, people don't come to hear about my magnificent cooking because it doesn't exist. They come to get reminded of things. And I've done family holiday recipe workshops where, and I'll talk, there's a kit in here, but these are the things people want to remember and the things they might need help with. Do you have equipment that they can use at the library for changing types of media, like slides, into something else? Do they know they could check that out or use it by themselves at the library for a while? These are things you might want to feature. Okay, there's genealogy clubs that allow libraries. Here's a sample of the one from the Schaumburg Township District Library and the types of speakers they had of how to find particular things. They have themes, like some months they look for adopted, some months feature different ethnicities, some month feature military records, different themes. All right, technology. I'm sorry, those pictures are too fuzzy. Again, a video on how to access the downloadables. A lot of people do. Do they know how to put it on their phones if they have it? Is there special? Can they check out iPads, seniors? Can they try things out in kits from the library? I'm guessing a lot of you are doing some of these already. Do they know how to easily access Overdrive or Audible books? Some libraries have special pages on senior events. Here's one at a library close to me. Their computer room is reserved just for seniors at certain times. And definitely with COVID, that's something that might be something that would be very useful. Harder for the academic libraries. You might have the targets and the topics might be a little different to reserve your computer room just for seniors at particular times, although they are senior students, obviously. All right, Club Connection, you could have tech savvy seniors. Maybe you feature some new library technology once a month. They can still meet on Zoom to look at it. You show a demonstration of the library has a 3D printer, and this is how they can book it, or this is how they can sign up to do things or have things printed. An easy and low cost senior tech scavenger hunt. This is like the bingo. If they get prizes for completing or trying to do all these activities on your library website, it will help them access your services more often. All right, senior job fairs. We know that a lot of them are forced to work until very late in life. Do they know where they can look for jobs? Do they know about organizations that hire seniors? How can we connect them to that information? And then there are areas, places in my area at least, that want cards or things that aren't knitted, or blankets for pets. And so volunteering from home opportunities. This can be something they see when they're in the library or something online. All right, here's my recipe scrapbooking. This is part of my collection. I'm not good at scrapbooking. I don't have a lot of expensive materials. I take 8.5 by 11 fancy paper, as I call it. You can get books of those half off at the different craft stores or Walmart. I cut out recipes and glue them on there. I put them in a page protector in a 3-ring binder. So it's not too hard to make a kit. for recipe scrapbooking. And you want to give them tips, like make sure they write down all the ethnic recipes from their families. Maybe you have a sample recipe they can do, just something to get them started. This is a good fun family kit. How about having a club on nostalgia? This is kind of like the retro club, but they would do maybe cover all the decades at once. So they could have talks on different themes. Now, this is a list of some of the most popular food history talks I've done. And food history talks do not require a ton of research. These are some of the themes I've done. The Kolachki one, I really pulled from a lot of modern sources and information about who was having Kolachki festivals and things pre-COVID. Some of these are that you can pull together fairly easily without a ton of research to do a simple slideshow. And I realize I love classic Chicago candies up there. That might not be as appealing to your area, but certainly I have a friend who does the Taste of the Keys, the Taste of Florida, where she talks about foods from what regions or what restaurants are known for what foods in the area. Somebody said Frango mints. Yes, I wish they were still made here, but always a favorite. Here's Club Connection of Crafty Seniors. Demonstrate a club every month, craft every month. I've put samples of modern versus old. And yeah, I mentioned some of these before. There was a while there when there was a royal wedding before Meghan and Harry's wedding that I had a library ask me how to make fascinators in the old vintage way. And it was pretty easy to put kits together for people. It was like a hair comb, feathers, maybe I put some buttons in there, and I put craft glue in there, small bottles of it. Yeah, I was always surprised at what people come up with, but you know, a few people really love this and were remembering things from past times. A club connection of crafting for charity. It's hard to see. This is a square I knitted for breast cancer. It's got the ribbon in the middle of it. I don't do fancy knitting, nothing that requires too much counting. This was probably the most counting I've done, and it was pretty easy. So do local groups have patterns for things they're looking for? And even during COVID, people were still looking for some of these. They would just wash them when they got them, or I would wash them and before they were sewn together. Can you have like a group that meets once a month? Okay, today we're making things for this organization, or you can drop off the things you've made for that organization. I will do a demonstration on how we can do these. Local churches, local nursing home is asking for cards, generic birthday cards to use for their folks, something like that. I know I'm going fast. Remember, you're going to get the outline with all of this. Crafting for charity kits. In my area, people are always looking for birthday boxes for the food shelters. It seems like a luxury to buy cake mix and frosting and having the things, but so important for the kids in those families. And what they look for is people to decorate boxes and then fill the boxes with items. So it could be something that you have a kit, so people decorate the box or the bag, and then here's the list of the things they need to buy to donate, and here's where they can drop them off. So a kits that they are going to take and move on from there. Are all of them going to do it exactly? Maybe not, but probably more will once they get that information. Check with your local food pantries and see what they need. And then knitting a square like the one I did, have an easy pattern, or people can make a small fleece blankets for pet shelters. Different things you would have to probably have linked to instructions if you're not going to be doing demonstrations. How about a club on creative writing? We're in the middle of NaNoWriMo. People are now having, like all of October, a lot of library programs on prepping for NaNoWriMo. Go ahead and comment in the chat if that's something you've done. People have write-ins, even on Zoom. I participate only on Zoom, on NaNoWriMo. I will log in and people will have writing sprints like every half an hour or short ones. Anyone can come on Zoom. We quietly write. We write our word counts, and there's like fun games we do with no prizes, no physical interaction. We just do, and a lot of libraries and academic libraries in my area in particular have like 3-hour NaNoWriMo sessions. So seniors, a lot of them want to write memoirs, or many that I've seen. So could you have tips on how to write them? Now, the NaNoWriMo workshops, the people just want to log on and get their word count. They have to have 50,000 done by the end of the month. But before that time, you could have tips, someone talking about writing memoirs. A lot of authors reside in Florida. Can they give a talk on how to write flash fiction, or somebody to do samples of interesting calligraphy, writing nonfiction, tips on how to do self-publishing? That's the one I get asked to do the most. because a lot of people, once they've written these projects, want to know how to put them up on Amazon or Smashwords or Apple or some of the different sites. So you could have a creative writing club that targets some of these different themes every month, instead of just having people sharing their writing. So a lot of libraries have writing clubs, and sometimes you get one or two people that dominate. This is still good. There's still value in hearing the critique, but you can also switch it up by having themes every month and different topics that people are talking about. All right, feature local music, dance, and more. And I've put some ideas on there. Some of the most popular ones in my area are the Beatles tribute bands for some reason. You can tie to particular dates, ask local bands if you can use a short recording of them, or can you have like lessons on different instruments or sources. It's an area library that has Monday, a person playing piano every Monday on their Facebook from like noon to 2. And I thought, who's going to watch that? Do you know they get a lot of people watching it? She must bring some of her own followers too. I'm sure there's someone on staff who could do some short demos also. You think, how do we have time to do all this? That's true. All right, so Hollywood comes to the library, makes some gourmet popcorn making kits. That's big up here for like some seasonings or recipes for easy ones. Movie and book discussions, put both items in the kits. Binge it to movie or series. Feature things with local actors or filming locations. And then a friend of mine gives what she calls Hollywood death talks. She talks about Hollywood mysteries and murders, or she'll go by particular decades. She's very popular in October with libraries up here. Hollywood haunts, and remember, we're in Illinois. She's talking about things that happen in Hollywood or that are filmed in Florida or different locations. Is there somebody who's good on film history in the staff of the college that could talk about those things? Seniors really enjoy them. She gets lots of seniors at her programs. Books with pizzazz. For a while there, I did talks on 50 Shades of Racy reading, and everybody, I'm sorry, that's so blurry. Everybody talked about how shocking 50 Shades was, but every decade has had a shocking one, right? Here's the 1960 version of it. So books that were shocking, different, and I was surprised that they all went out, even the old ones, after I gave a talk about them. And I am not a good book talker. So sweet reads with cupcake decorating tips would be a good demo one. I talk a lot about crafty or food mysteries, especially when Hallmark used to have matching mysteries to the books. Forgotten reads or shocking reads, and then edgy and sexy reads. We used to do book talks at a local senior center, my friend and I, the one who does the Hollywood talks. And so I would bring things like Jan Karen, and I'd bring some sweet romance and mystery, and they were bored. They were like, where's the erotica? I'm not kidding. They would ask us this stuff, and they wanted the erotica on audio. And there's nothing wrong with that. We just weren't prepared when we went there. So you don't want to make assumptions about what seniors do or don't want to read. As Susan said, that was my colleague, we couldn't find mysteries that were bloody enough or books that were racy enough to suit their needs. And, God bless them. All right, having a book club for seniors. Can you market some that are just to seniors? And here are some ways that you can make it easy for them. As long as you have to do it on Zoom right now, why can't we include authors on that? And there are plenty of authors who have discounted rates or will do free Skypes and things, especially your cozy mystery authors have very little publicity. A lot of times they're from tiny little publishers. They would be thrilled at a chance to do some library talks, especially because some of those people might then buy their books, or the library will then carry their full set. And here are some listed some ideas. You could even talk about favorite children's books. Have everybody in the book club bring the favorite book they read when they were younger, or the same favorite series, or let them read a popular YA title and discuss it. And how about book kits? And when I talk about large type, they can't get it elsewhere. So think about making some kits with large type things on a theme. Read-alikes are a good one, especially for items they might have to wait for a long time for. And then I've listed some other ideas and things that you could include, including maybe a bookmark, the color, or some little thing. Okay, only have a couple more, and then we'll do questions. So adults like to read to dogs too. A lot of libraries do read to a dog. You can make appointments to do this at some local libraries. Adults like to do it too, especially adults who are unable to move or downsize with their pets. Maybe this is something somebody could do at a senior center depending on restrictions. Local animal scavenger hunt. Have you seen this animal in your area or that one? I can only imagine the ones near you. Uh, and how about a virtual pet parade where people post a picture of their pets, either in costume or just a picture of the pets? We never want to judge those because we know how emotional people can be with those, with good reason. Those are family members. A picture of getting caught reading to an animal. Feature local shelters and their needs, and then making blankets for shelters. Making the blankets for pet shelters was a craft I did so many times with teens because it was a great one for those who were just learning. So seniors too, if maybe their hands are not up to knitting some of the small, fine designs in a little square, they might enjoy doing a bigger blanket for pets who might be less fussy about the way it looks and just want something warm and cozy. You want to see what local shelters in your area want. And this is a picture of when I did a live vintage show at a local library. And this is the one that I did on Zoom this week. I've done vintage holiday talks for them for 7 years. And it still works. So you might think, well, I'm offering all these Zoom programs, but not that many people are coming. We sort of had a version of that when it was live. So I guarantee that you are making those people happy. You are doing a good job reaching those folks. You are doing probably much better than you think you are. And the numbers on Zoom are not always telling the whole story. So I am looking forward to answering your questions now. I want to thank you all for coming. Remember, I know I hit you with a lot of info at once. You're going to have the outline of all my themes and the copy that was on the theme slides, including the kits. So I'm going to go ahead and open the chat if anybody's got any questions. And since I'm sharing, I think I'm going to stop the share on that one, Vicki, and that way I can see it easier. I'm telling hers I already did it. Oh, somebody asked what a fascinator was. A little feathery concoction that I guess counts as a hat in the UK, but they were big in different decades to wear to church. And that you see all different versions of them with feathers or tiny hat ones. It's pretty easy to recreate. And again, they're not looking to make stuff they're going to wear all the time. They're just enjoying making it and remembering things. Okay, let me see if we've got any questions. Oh, thank you for saying a good speech. What's a Victorian talk? Okay. My husband and I were Civil War reenactors for many years on the Union side, as I now remember to mention. And I would put on the dress and go talk about what were popular teas and desserts at particular times. You definitely don't have to do all that. Serve a few types of teas. Talk about what kind of gadgets are available, or Victorian era. What I have done for some of this is music, play music from the area, from often library streaming things. People don't even realize that there's samples or recreations, modern recreations of Victorian favorite medleys. Show pictures, show books, talk about what people served at Victorian teas. The one I get asked to talk about these a lot around wartime anniversaries when they would have the victory or the fundraising teas. So what would they serve? What were the popular dances? What did people wear? These are the things I show pictures of and talk about. How are we getting the summary? I'm pretty sure Vicki's going to email it to you. It's an outline. I realized for these talks, I have so many slides and copy that people would rather just have an outline and they can highlight or mark some of the things they want to do. Anybody have any other questions? Oh, I hope you guys got some great ideas. It seems to me you're all doing some amazing things from what I saw on here, and you all have some great ideas. So some of you do game days. What are some of the favorite games that people like to do? Oh, I hope these seniors love the ideas. My guess is they're variations on things you're doing already. Sometimes if you just take your most popular program and change it up a little bit, yeah, then you have 2 popular programs you have to run, right? So get some help. Mexican train and dominoes. Yeah, so many people are interested in dominoes again. That ties into 1950 programs for sure. I hope you have staff members who are good at playing those, because usually I have patrons who are way better than anything I could play at some of those game things. I hope you guys are motivated. You're already doing amazing work under the most hardest circumstances ever, both college and public libraries, very difficult circumstances. All right, I hope you guys have some make and take kits. The demand for those is not going away. I think we're stuck with those after COVID, right? My teen loves them. I have two sons. My 13-year-old teen boy loves the make and take teen crafts because he never wanted to go to a teen craft day that was all girls. So now, if he wants to make something, he signs up for it. He goes and picks up his little craft, and then he's happy. I was amazed at that. Patrons kept asking for poker. Well, I could see that. Is there a way to demonstrate popular card games? How can you do it without having a poker night at the library, right? With gambling. Boy, things they didn't teach us in library school or college, right? How to manage it when I'm going to bring that one up with my students. What do you do when students want to have a gambling or poker night? That is tricky. I'm sure there are lots of seniors down there. That I told you that is my dream to live. Yeah, so domino 42 with dominoes was invented as an alternative to poker. Great idea. Thank you, Lisa. Use M&Ms. I don't know that I would have the discipline to be able to use those for gambling. And I don't know that I would want, that is a great idea though. Maybe pennies would be, oh, but then again, we're getting into money. There has to be ways to do this. Bingo markers, something. I mean, all ages like bingo too. You can do that family activity on Zoom forever. And I love the idea of using the music. And certainly you could plug the library and how to download it. A white elephant item to trade. That's a great idea. If you have a club that meets in person, we used to do this with the teens too. But then they were all afraid of not bringing something nice enough. So I used to put stipulations like could not cost more than $5 so that we've done bingo and they win chocolate bars. Boy, every age loves those, right? It's amazing. White elephant bingo. That's hilarious. That is one way to clean out your library closets. I love it. Anybody have any other questions? Oh, your in-laws use matches for gambling. Vicki, that's a great idea. Yeah, toilet rolls is a prize. That is what my teens used to bring for their white elephant things. It was amazing. You can hear the remodeling. I'm glad the internet held up. I bought a booster yesterday because I was scared about it in my back room here. Anybody have any questions or something they'd like to try or want to mention to other people? I will organize the comments and send them back to Vicki, and so she can include that with my outline. I know, I'm sure some of the things I talk about, you're like, that's crazy. No one would come to that here. That's always going to happen. What is my most successful program? You mean the ones I talk about or with the teens? Because I like to forget some of the most successful teen programs. I'm kidding. Yes, seniors do like what the college kids like with the rock painting, and that's a good one to make a kit out of. Sometimes they just want to be targeted to things on their own, just like young people don't maybe want to attend things with a lot of seniors. That goes the other way too. My most successful program, the talks I do for seniors, probably the vintage cookies and candies, and then there's a holiday version of that one too. Some of the Kolachki's one is very popular. I get booked to do that one again, and then the decades one. Foods in the 50s. I usually get booked to do when the like at town we'll have an all read program that's they'll read a book that's set in the 50s and then they'll have me come talk about matching foods. And that again is one you could easily copy. Foodtimeline.org, and I'm going to put that here, can give you enough to do any of your own food history programs. It's just finding pictures and putting together things about popular, and you don't have to just do food. You could do like popular foods and fashions. Let's say you're reading October Sky is one I did recently. The whole town read it, and then they watched Rocket Boys, and I talked about 1950s foods and the obsession with space themed foods, but you could do it on a smaller scale, easier. My most popular teen programs, haunted gingerbread making. As I say, it's the scariest program I've ever done for many reasons. Variations on the successful gingerbread making things we did with the seniors. And it was the simple cover a box with frosting, put graham crackers, and then decorate. People just like getting ideas or coming together and sharing things. That is one that might work as a kit. In that case, you just have a kit with graham crackers and things. Oh, good. You'll get to use the kitchen when you open up again in January. Yeah, I don't recommend the haunted gingerbread house for the teens. I used to do an outdoor scavenger hunt with them in the area too. That was another one that I could never get rid of. They loved it so much. And I'd always have like injuries, mess, you name it. But there was no getting rid of that program because they absolutely loved it. But I could never get teens to come to a book club. They liked the writing club. They could share their own writing, and that was great. And then we had to make a young adult writing club because they did not, they wanted to write genre stuff versus maybe some of the seniors in the writing group who wanted to do more memoirs. I don't mean to stereotype it, just my particular group, that is the way they had it. So we split that into groups also. Yeah, we don't have endless time, right? You have to pick your programs that are the most popular and the ones that are good for you to do also. But sometimes we need to do new programs to get us excited about the ones we're already doing, right? Does anybody have a program they're really excited about coming up? You guys are shy. I can tell you I'll have a ton of good ideas. I've gotten like 3 or 4 ideas from you already. My senior book club is fun. Thank goodness you have a good group then. I love it. A scent memory program. Ooh, that's a fun idea. Michaela, what is that? Obviously not one that's going to work on Zoom, but I'm curious about what that is. We'll see if she tells us. That sounds like something really fun. Anything to trigger memories is something seniors would enjoy. All right, and maybe she'll get back to us about what a scent memory program is, or maybe one of you knows more about it. History of baseball teams. We had a bunch of popular programs on the history of Native American, African Americans in baseball up here. We had some experts from universities talk about that. Everybody loves those sport history ones. Use essential oils, cotton. Ooh, how fun. Everybody discuss memories each scent brings. What a fabulous idea. I love it. And what do we all think of with the scent of dandelions? Maybe it's something different down there. Great idea. Oh, thank you all for such fabulous ideas. I will organize the chat that the ideas people mentioned in the chat, and you will get the outline too. And I want to thank Vicki so much for having me come talk to your area. I'm always inspired hearing what everybody else is doing also.